I'll be the first to admit it, these are some crazy times. With all the division and conflict, heinous conspiracies coming to light, and the seemingly ever-widening gap between the haves and the have-nots, it's small wonder any of us are yearning for yesteryear. First of all, welcome back to the Red Room. You can call me Z, and this is where we talk and sometimes rant about things. Second of all, it's been so long. I'm happy to be back and hope you've all been well. It's been a jam-packed few years, a jam-packed decade, a jam-packed life. Countless transitions, upheaval, and paradigm shifts have all lent to a more cautious, perhaps even more pessimistic population. And who can really blame folks for feeling this way? With the advent of the internet, smartphones, and social media, we now live in a world made small, where information is just a tap away. We have front row seats to the good, the bad, and the ugly of this world. But, as we all know, there's always been more focus placed on the bad and ugly.
Things are pretty crazy. I know, the world is a total dystopia being run by literal demons. What about what we were talking about before? About how messed up everything is? Oh yeah, I mean, it's terrible, but what am I gonna do about it? You see, your friend has the right mentality.
Naturally, we are coded to scan for danger, to scout for potential threats to our security, our safety, our livelihood, and lately, all seem to be under threat. The pressure cooker has been cranked up, and more people are hip to the unspoken injustices once accepted as a mere status quo. Now, we all know the saying, the truth shall set you free, but I'd be lying if I said I never once felt worse for knowing the truth. And in a society that so heavily worships escapism, I would say this feeling is definitely by design. Anything to get us to go back to sleep, right? At least once, we've all had a desire to travel back to a simpler past, a past where the problems of today surely didn't exist, a past that we now remember as unblemished, bright, and carefree. But the reality is, the world we remember never existed. Not truly. Now, this isn't to vilify looking back on the good times in our lives. It's fun and often healthy to appreciate the people, events, and environments that helped shape who we are. But if taken to the extreme, nostalgia can be debilitating. It can keep a person stuck and mentally traveling where the body can't follow. It can warp one's vision of the past and lead them to completely disassociating from the present, the only thing that's tangible. You can even end up feeling nostalgic for a time you weren't around for. Take me, for example. As a child, I would look back at the world 10, 20 years before I was even born, and it was all so fascinating. It seemed so much better than the world I was growing up in. I wanted to be there. I'd wish I was older so that I was there. That nostalgic feeling followed me into my teens, where I then yearned for the innocence of my earlier childhood, and so on it went, and all the while I was growing older, but not really appreciating the here and now. Society would have you believe that we as a human race have peaked, that the way things were before was the standard, that what we have today are the warped and perverted remains of a near utopian past. It's also the narrative we subtly suggest to ourselves. With a little distance, the past is malleable, much more malleable than seems the present day. Since it already happened, we can mend its story in any way we'd like. But that's the trap that can keep a society and the world at large at a standstill. If we're kept in perpetual contempt for the present, what motivation would we have to change it? If the past was as good as it will ever be, what hope are we to have today? That's why I believe nostalgia is marketed so heavily. We're encouraged to cling to a bygone era, to imprint on a time that in truth likely had all the same problems that we do today, if not more. The difference? We weren't aware of those problems back then. Either we were too young, or we now live in a present so overstimulating and uncomfortable that we're willing to escape it. And that is when the past becomes a drug. Now, there are definitely some things in recent history we wish never came to pass. Many things, in fact. And perhaps the world that existed before these events seemed better, easier, optimistic even. But the question is it worth it to go back? Does the past truly offer the refuge we think it does? Or is the present simply hard to deal with? For me, I always look to the past when I was at my most sad, anxious, or uncertain. There's a painful pleasure about dreaming up a world that you can't touch. Yet I kept returning to this misremembered past, romanticizing it all while damning the present. That's not to say the world of the present isn't without its issues. It has many, as we're all keenly aware. But the trap is believing that nothing can be done about it.
Well, yeah, that's why we make you guys do all those things. You know, work a job, pay bills, pay taxes. It's all designed to keep you distracted enough so you don't all rise up against us and destroy us.
It's exactly what the influential few want us to believe about ourselves and the world as a whole. The mind is the only real stranglehold they ever had on us. And if we're made so discontent, so broke, so uncertain, so burnt out, of course the average person is going to seek an escape to the good old days. Escapism is so subtly normalized, encouraged, and monetized right now that you're hard-pressed to find anyone who doesn't think we're in the end times. And you know what? Maybe we are. But maybe that's not necessarily a bad thing. Think back to who you were 10 years ago. I'm sure there are many things you did back then that you wouldn't do now. Things you may have believed or said or felt, behaviors and people you didn't realize were toxic at the time. And yet, for some of us, we can get caught up in what ifs, amending a past that can't truly be changed, completely wasting the potential we have now. Newsflash, you just didn't know what you just didn't know. This roundabout self-flagellation is the perfect breeding ground for depression, malaise, and just general dissatisfaction to grow in the heart and mind. Now, I know there are some people listening wanting that advice on how to kick this drug called the past, and it really is simple. Plant yourself. Acknowledge the present circumstances bit by bit, for better or for worse. But first, you have to build a tolerance for contending with the present moment. There are many methods to help you along the way. Meditation, mindfulness, breathing exercises, walking, bird watching, whatever works for you. Get in your body. Be present with it, not just as a means to an end, but as a home. It's the one thing you carry with you moment to moment. Just a few short months ago, I had such a poor relationship with my own body that I literally became sick with anxiety. But through the daily dedication of planting my feet, acknowledging my discomfort, I slowly repaired that relationship and continue to repair it. Over time, the narrative changed. The present moment wasn't a thing to escape or distract from, but a thing to live through, to play an active role in, no matter what. Realize that I said this was simple. I didn't say it was easy. With that in mind, don't ever blame yourself like I used to, and sometimes still do. We were programmed to seek outside ourselves, outside the present for the remedy, the happiness, the peace that we innately crave. It's a process, shedding all that subconscious baggage, and no one ever goes cold turkey. To this day, I'm doing the work to not linger on old decisions, people, and places, but that's the only part that truly matters. Taking those steps every day, no matter how small. Now, all this isn't to say the past is the villain of our stories. They inform why we are the way we are, why the world is the way it is, and is an excellent reference to where we do or don't want to go. Which brings me to my next point. Another thing that can hold us back is the personification of the past, defining it and then using it to define ourselves. Of course, our experiences shape us, but we're also more than our experiences, more than anything that happened to us, more than anything we've gone through. It can be easy to get swept up in the desire to bury it all, to forget it all, because of how certain things played out and the narratives that are attached to them. The only thing that can breathe life into the past, the only thing that can vilify the past, is us. Without the power of our minds reaching back and reviving these old events, they would sit right wherever they are. Resolving yourself to remain present doesn't mean the past is trying to overtake you. The past is the past, an object imbued with attention. In my experience, the less you look at it like a thing that attacks you, the less resistance you feel. Again, simple, not easy. We were never given these tools growing up. In fact, I believe there was hope these tools were never found. It makes for an easily swayed population. It leads to another gilded age, a modern-day serfdom, when people are made to believe they can do nothing about their present circumstances. And sure, there are some things we can't change, some facts of life we do need to endure. But even in those things, there is light at the end of shadow. This battle for your heart and mind has been going on since the moment you were born, and even before that. In the world that insists you can find peace only in the things sold to you, don't continue to drink that Kool-Aid. Old habits may die hard, but I want you to know that we live in a world that can change. And as tempting as it may be sometimes, we don't need to chase old feelings, old memories to stay afloat. Yes, we can still enjoy them, cherish them even, but we're no longer hooked. At the end of the day, all things must move forward. We must too. And we can. If you listen to the end, I want to thank you. It's been a stressful few years, and I haven't had nearly as much of a presence as I've wanted on here. I really do hope to have more discussions, and I hope you'll be a part of them. And if you have 2 cents, throw them in the comments below. And if you liked what you heard, consider giving this video a like. Here's to peace in a chaotic world, and I will see you next time.